Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. Right, okay, I can't even tell you how excited I am to have this couple on the podcast today. I have got Chris and Julie Ramsey, and I don't even know how to introduce them. I've just said they are the most inspirational couple and inspirational adventurers who might be slightly mental because of what they did. But Chris and Julie, we're going to talk about pole to pole and all of the adventures that you've actually done in an electric vehicle. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you.
No, thank you for having us, Liz. You're just as inspirational as well with all the work that you're doing for the community.
Bless you. Yeah, but I haven't driven thousands of miles across sheet ice, so slightly different, being in a little cul-de-sac in Caversham just outside Reading. It's slightly different to what you did. Let's start. So I just wanted to say, so I met Chris when you were in Harrogate, and yep. Julie last week at Carfest, which was amazing, both of you there. Never got to meet Sonrisa because I'm a bit gutted, and we'll talk about Sonrisa as well. But it was just brilliant, and I was stuffing my face at the time, so that was very attractive. But I was quite hangry, so my apologies for that one.
We've all been there. We know that feeling.
Oh my God, absolutely. Let's start. So for those of you that don't know Chris and Julie, these two are adventurers, and Julie, I was gonna get both of you to kind of reflect on what you were doing before you started doing this, because for both of you, can I ask you what were your first, and I don't know whether this is Chris more than you, Julie, but what were your first memories of when you were younger that made you want to do something a bit different, to be adventurers? Was it when you two got together, or were you both thinking the same way? What was it that kind of inspired you to do kind of all of these wonderful things you've been doing?
Or Chris?
Go for it, Julie. You go first.
Go on, Julie.
I was just saying, I think, in all honesty, we've always had a love of travel and adventure. When we were younger, we took a year out, and we backpacked across Australia. We loved it so much. Yeah, we worked and travelled, and we loved it so much we extended it by a further 6 months. We actually took a year and a half out, and that included Asia, America, Hawaii as well, and places like that. So I think that really started our love of travel. And then the electric car adventuring, it was the EV that really sparked it. So being introduced to the EV, and really, I think Chris is kind of curiosity at the time about EVs and what it could do, how far it could go, and really testing those kind of technologies. I think the combined passion ignited that back about a decade ago. And I think, to be honest, Chris, you discovered the EV first, I think, and then you demonstrated just how cool it was. And then after that, I just loved the tech as well. And then 10 years later, here we are today. So
is it 10 years? Is it?
About a decade now.
Yeah, because 2014 was 2013, I think I did the first adventure in the Nissan Leaf, but 2014 was when we bought our Nissan Leaf, our 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, which we still have today. But I'll add to that because, I think there's nothing in my childhood. I've a usual kid playing in trees and all that kind of stuff, camping as a kid, but nothing really in my childhood that sparks the adventure that I do today. And I will say that I'd never really travelled the world or gone on major holidays at all, or even held a driving license until I met Julie.
Did you not? Oh, bless you.
Interesting fact was I passed my driving test at 29. something like that. I think it was 29. And then I went traveling with Julie around the world, and then that sparked my interest and my passion for travel. And
Remember
then
those
Julie,
days, Chris? I used to chauffeur you around before you got your license.
and then as Julie said, I mean, 2013, I discovered the Nissan Leaf just out of curiosity on an advert on the computer, and then went on a road trip with a friend. Loved the tech. Came home, switched out my car to a Nissan Leaf, and then I think a few months later we were fighting over the Nissan Leaf on the driveway, so we got rid of our other combustion car. So we've been pretty much an EV household, pure EV household, since mid to late 2014.
And what range were you looking at then? Because it wasn't very big, was it?
65 miles.
Oh, flipping heck!
I was driving to events. I was driving down south and doing meetups with people in that car. And then famously, Jonathan Porterfield from EcoCars, a great friend of mine. Met him on my very first road trip. We've been friends ever since.
And Bobby, you met Bobby on your very first.
And Robert on the very first, Robert on the very
Llewellyn.
Well, yeah. I mean, to get a message from Robert when you're on this road trip, three young lads. I call myself young at that time. And he messaged to say, "Hey, you guys are bonkers. You're doing a road trip. Would you like to come and meet up? You're near my house." We were like, "What?" So we were like, "Wow!" So we were, I mean, delirious with exhaustion, but we went to meet up with him, and it was amazing. And then we've known each other ever since then as well. But after that, after meeting Jonathan, we got chatting. He thought what I did was cool in that road trip, and he was like, "Look, let's do John O'Groats to Land's End and back in a." That was a 30 kilowatt-hour Leaf. No, it wasn't. It was a 24 kilowatt-hour Leaf. So we drove John O'Groats to Land's End and back. That's like what, about 1,600 miles in just over 50 hours. And every 60 miles, we were stopping to charge and trying to sleep and keep moving. And that was and all those things. I mean, for some people like Jonathan, I think it broke him a bit. He was a bit exhausted, thirsty for more and hungry for more, and that's kind of what happened. I just kept doing these adventures as a hobby, until 2017 when Julie and I decided to go for it and do the Mongol Rally.
Oh my god! Let's just step back a second.
Yep.
Before you did that, before you got into all of this adventuring and the road trips and everything, what did you do? What were you doing beforehand?
Yeah, we both had day jobs, didn't we?
Did you? Go on, Julie.
Aberdeen in Scotland, and Aberdeen's the oil and gas capital of Europe. So we're both working in the oil and gas industry before doing what we're doing now. So
the irony.
I know. So we're definitely part of the transition, so to speak.
Yeah.
I worked in a commercial department within an oil and gas firm, and have been for over a decade. And Chris worked in a manufacturing plant for an oil and gas firm, and for many years as well. So we had normal day jobs prior to this.
Is that where you met then? Did you meet through the day job?
No,
we essentially met through our day job, but it was prior to the oil and gas industry. We worked in a good old computer store as salespeople essentially, and we always joke that our eyes met over an ink cartridge, but so we basically that's how we met. Julie was a weekend rep in a store, and I was the sales guy, and we met each other, and that was 24 years ago now. So
So were you young sweethearts?
More than 24 years.
Were you young sweethearts? Were you?
I would say so.
We're definitely old enough. Put it that way.
Love it. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about the Mongol rally. You'll get me teeth. Mongol Rally, if you can, because you've got your first road trip, then you've got your John O'Groats to Land's End. I've actually done that John O'Groats to Land's End journey back in 1988.
Wow.
But that's another story. So yes, I did it.
Not
I
in
did
an
it
EV then.
No, not in an EV. No, I think it was in a Renault 9. Yeah, I was learning to drive, so we did a sponsored driving lesson from John O'Groats to Land's End for Childline.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, nice.
That long ago.
Nice.
So yes, that was just after the car accident that I was in. So that was a bigger thing because I was trying to get back on my feet and my driving instructor. I'd failed the driving test first time.
We've all been,
So
don't worry.
so he took me on the whole, the whole length of. There was me and another learner driver, and we both did. We even had to do reversing and all that, but we on certain days we had to kind of do all of the stuff. But it was obviously not on the motorways; it was all A and B roads. So that was very, very interesting time. So there you go. That's my little thing. But let's talk about. Come on, let's Mongol rally then, please. Let's just tell me about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, so that was 2017, and that's when I actually stepped back from the oil and gas industry.
Right.
And we decided, well, I'd looked into the Mongol Rally for a long time. 3 principles. It's got to be no more than a 1 litre car, it's got to be cheap, and it's got to be basically completely unsuitable. And you drive from London to, they say Mongolia, but at that time the finishing line had moved to Siberia, southern Siberia.
Which is just literally north of Mongolia, really.
Yeah.
Just over the border.
And so we did that we entered that in a 30 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf. And we were told by the organizer that we were completely the most unsuitable car that entered the rally. Everybody took bets that we wouldn't finish because they were opening a bet internally in the office, and nobody betted on us actually finishing. We realistically had a range of about 90 miles, and we drove 10,000 miles in 56 days. And from Turkey to Russia, there was no charging infrastructure, public charging infrastructure whatsoever at all.
And I remember back then a lot of people obviously doubted us in a big way. I think when we arrived at the at Goodwood where we set off, there was about 250 cars going to Mongolia. We were the only EV. We created we created a bit of a circle, a small crowd around us. As soon as we arrived, the crowd came to descended on us and just asked us so many questions, and we missed out all the entertainment that evening because so many people were just wondering what the hell we were doing, and like they just couldn't believe it. And
we couldn't even get a tent set up, could we? It was just like we were there.
Get our tent set up. Yeah, they were just so curious because EVs back then were still relatively new, and to have a range of 90 miles, people were like, how? Just couldn't comprehend how you'd get an EV to Mongolia. So that was interesting.
Oh my God.
I guess at the time, I think Chris mapped as much as you could, but as you said, beyond Turkey, there was nothing. So we had to rely on the kindness of strangers along the way to help us plug in and charge, and that would be effectively anywhere that had electricity. It could have been a cafe, a petrol station. We even charged in a Turkish shed, which was a barber shop. He actually gave up his electricity for us that morning so we could charge our car. So he kind of it didn't take any business in, so we could charge our car. And it's just weird and wonderful locations that we found along the way, which was amazing.
Through the Russian energy company that reached out to us while we were traveling through Russia. They took us into the middle of the Siberian forest and basically wired us directly into an electricity pylon. So we charged them everything you can imagine. And those things. So when you look back at the Mongol Rally route now, and we went to Astana, the capital at that time, which is now called Nur-Sultan, if I remember rightly, in Kazakhstan. Went to the World Future Energy Summit. We had talks with the United Nations and other people, and talked about charging infrastructure. We met with the head of the CEO of the state petrol company to talk about charging infrastructure. And now if you look at PlugShare, and even a year after we finished the Mongol Rally route, you look at PlugShare and there's charging infrastructure all along the whole route that we took in Siberia. And there's chargers being sprouting up everywhere in Kazakhstan. And we actually got a message about a year later from somebody that we keep in contact with saying, hey, you've got to come back to Kazakhstan because we now have a charger in our city and you can use it. So it's great to see that infrastructure was sprouting up as after our trip, basically raising awareness of EVs.
That's amazing. And for you to actually be able to spread the word across so many different platforms and to so many different people. Was it just because of the fact that people were interested in talking to you? Did you contact all of these organisations to say we want to come and talk to you about what we're doing? How did that work?
Well, a friend of mine had a contact in the Kazakhstan government because he was trying to set up a rally around the world in EVs at the time. So basically, he put us in contact with the Kazakh government, and then basically we had conversations with them. And when people in Kazakhstan heard we were coming, like the World Future Energy Summit and things, we were invited to kind of speak there. So we displayed the car at the Dutch and the British expo stands. And that kind of sparked a lot of things. But yeah, because we were new and we were unique, we're driving through an EV through Kazakhstan and countries like this. Everybody wanted to talk to you. Everybody wanted to know what was going on with this car plugged into a plug socket in the petrol station in the middle of nowhere. So we were sleeping in a car for like 10 hours in the Leaf for about 10 hours in the middle of Kazakhstan, in the middle of nowhere, the desert, basically plugged into a plug socket at a petrol station, and nowhere to go. So we were very, very unique.
That is amazing. Honestly, my God.
But what I
Is
love,
that how?
these
Go on,
people
sorry, Julie.
actually, what I really loved is that those petrol stations, Kazmonagas, actually put these chargers along the route for us, you know. So they actually had little stickers or little A4 kind of posters to say little charger. And this is the first time they've ever put any form of infrastructure to allow an EV to go through. And I think it was kind of, some of them were temporary, some of them were more permanent, but it's just, it's just nice to have that feeling, thinking we were the first people to really engage, allow them to set up that permanent infrastructure along the way. So it's been, and I think that's what triggered the pole to pole, and the legacy aspect of what we do is that we like to, when we do go on an adventure, we'd like to go with a purpose, with a mission, and to be able to help the communities, help future EV drivers, and leave permanent infrastructure behind so other people can follow our route. So not only are we trying to, spread a certain message, but also to leave something behind for others as well. So that's really important for us.
I love that. And some of the things that you shared on kind of Instagram and social media during your pole to pole adventure were amazing. The stuff that you were doing in the communities and stuff. Let's talk about pole to pole, because that must have been a mammoth task to put together. My God, how many years did it take for you to, you can't just izzy wizzy it up, can you? Magic a massive journey. Tell us all of the, how did it work?
Yeah, I mean, that basically was 6 years in the making, 6 years in the planning. And I will obviously say that obviously COVID came in between the middle of that. So there was another reason for that 6 years, but 6 years to basically plan everything from the mapping, the infrastructure, how it's going to go in the ground, finding the partners, making this happen. The team to achieve pole to pole, I knew we needed the experts in polar expeditions.
Yeah.
I know we can cross the Mongol Rally and everything, all my adventures I've done as well. I know we can cross the Americas. I would say fine, it's not going to be fine, there's obviously challenges, but I know I can do that bit. In terms of the polar regions, I needed the experts, and that's where we engaged Arctic Trucks.
Yeah.
You may know them from the Polar Top Gear special that they did. So they modify all the vehicles, they do all the planning, all the logistics for that. So we engaged those guys who were like, this is the future, this is what we need to be looking at, electric vehicles in the polar regions and how we can transition. So we want to be a part of this project, and for them this was the first electric vehicle they've ever modified. But all that planning, all the resources, everything that's needed, the partners, the infrastructure, everything was basically down to us two individuals sitting here, just putting all that organization and logistics and visa requirements and car insurance requirements and everything we needed to deliver this project was delivered by us two sitting here. So, I mean, we'll say with support from our partners, as I say, Arctic Trucks, and I don't want to say these guys support us in the polar regions, which is amazing, and other people did some other things, but operationally you're looking at the team sitting here, which for any expedition, is probably is pretty much unheard of.
But you almost needed, because again it's such a big project, and it's it's never been done before, so it's very, very high risk. So we had to get the kind of buy-in from the experts before we could do it. So Arctic Trucks definitely thumbs up, but then we also needed a vehicle manufacturer who had the same mindset, had the same ethos, had the same drive, had the same push that they wanted for the electric vehicles and the future of EVs. And yeah, it took a while to get a vehicle manufacturer on board, but once a chance meeting with somebody from Nissan, Chris explained his passion, his project, what he wanted, his dream, and that particular individual just clicked and says, love it, and made it happen. So we're forever grateful to the likes of Nissan, obviously Arctic Trucks, and all our other partners that were involved, because without them we wouldn't be here today. So we almost need these people who are just as mental, just as bonkers, who are willing to take that risk, but also understand the importance of such a big project and such a big task, because it's not just going for a jolly, it's there for a purpose, it's there for a reason, it's there to prove and demonstrate how exciting electric vehicles are. And it's just getting that message out there that they are reliable, they are robust, they can do the different, they can go the distance, and they can work in the cold, they can work in the hot, they can cross all these terrains. Like, what more can we do to prove that EVs are ready today, And we just wanted to, we said before, I think in other interviews, we've risked our lives doing this. It's dangerous in those territories and dangerous in those terrains, and we just felt like we had to do something really big and bold and out there to capture people's attention before they actually will listen, and hence why we're on your podcast today.
And as Julie said, it's the first vehicle in history. We're the first people in history to attempt it and achieve it. And the importance around that is we had no blueprint. There's nothing for us to follow. We had to basically set the groundwork for other people in the future to hopefully maybe go off and do the expedition in electric vehicles as well, just to show again how capable things are, and maybe to lay the blueprint for expedition vehicles to become electric, future vehicles to become electric. So, and that's what we hope for. Maybe in the Antarctica, maybe polar expedition vehicles can start to, or polar vehicles that operate around the bases can start to go electric, and that's what we'd love to see. So, we have literally hopefully laid the groundwork for a lot of people and a lot of governments through the scientific research studies and things to follow.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you as well, so we've talked about Nissan, but we've and I mentioned Sonrisa to start off with. Do you want to explain about Sonrisa, who she is, and why you chose her, and what you had to do to make sure that Sonrisa was able to cope with that journey? Can we just start before where you started from? Magnetic North, wasn't it? And I can't remember the exact.
1823 magnetic North Pole.
And and you were covering how many miles to?
The geographical South Pole.
Yeah. So we covered 21 in total. We covered 21,000 miles.
Yeah, in excess of 21,000.
14 countries, 3 continents, and it was the 1823 magnetic North Pole up in northern Canada. So we were about 220 miles into the ocean. So driving on the frozen sea ice, Arctic Ocean, up in northern Canada. So when people think about Edmonton, I say to people, Edmonton, you drive northeast, you'll find a town called Yellowknife, or a city called Yellowknife, and then you keep going northeast until you fall off the edge of Canada, and you keep going 250 miles. And then that's where you'll get our start point up there.
Oh my God.
It's nothing there. No civilization, wilderness, pure snow, valleys, lakes, boulder fields. It's just nothingness. So you're on your own. Obviously, we had Arctic Trucks who were our support team, so it's just a team of, 5, I think. 5, 6 people. So there's, you're on your own and you're crossing these treacherous terrains, and it's quite a feeling, isn't it?
And you needed a vehicle that could manage that terrain. Let's talk about Sonrisa now. Then, did you know that Sonrisa would? You were hoping that she would be able to manage all of that terrain. Was it kind of like still a we think we're going to be okay, but we're not sure. What were the choices? What were the things that you had to think of?
I think it's two different trains of thought between us. It shows the difference in our mentalities. But I mean, the reason for Nissan at the time when I first came up with the project didn't have an electric vehicle capable. It was just a Leaf, so we couldn't have gone with Nissan at that time. Then as everything changed and the years went by, the Aria came out, and that's why then I went back to Nissan, because we know Nissan technology, being a Nissan owner, but obviously having and done so many adventures with them, we knew the technology, and we knew how robust and reliable it was. So that gave us the confidence to kind of work with Nissan, and obviously them to work with us with our track record. But with the Aria, for me, it was never a question. It was never a doubt. Right. Because I know the technology is far better than what car manufacturers think their technology is. Just because of the experience I have with doing the expeditions that we've done. Mm-hmm. So I was obviously, it's going to be fine. And I think in any situation, it's going to be fine. That's the kind of mentality I am. And I just get on with stuff. And in terms of the car itself, the aspect of what we do is we don't modify vehicles to basically make them big custom things. We modify that vehicle with the bare minimum requirement to complete this expedition. So we've got 39-inch BF Goodrich tyres on it. So that was allow us to drop the tyre pressures down to about 4 to 10 psi and get the good traction on the deep, thick snow, and displace the weight of the car. There's a skid plate, and there's recovery maintenance points, 3 hitch points on the front and back of the car. Outside of that, suspension, drivetrain, everything is a standard stock Aria that you will buy from a showroom, and that's how much confidence we have in that technology, I would say.
Yeah, and it turned out to be really, really good, because it was. I mean, I think we took the Aria on the test drive of its life. I don't think there's anything more challenging, to test a car. We put it through its paces. Like we were saying, to get through some of the deep, thick snow, we had to take air in the Arctic. We were flying that car through the deep ridges, and it was bouncing up and down constantly, and it just performed amazingly. So I think when Chris, he's very positive. He didn't have any concerns. I, on the other hand, was like, doesn't matter, which car. A car's never been in those areas before. I don't know how it's going to perform. I'm not saying the robustness, but it's more the electronics. What happens if one day we switch the car on and it just didn't respond because it was too cold or something? That was my biggest concern. We end up having a dead weight up in the Arctic, and how do we get that dead weight out? Because the guys that we took with us, they're mechanical. They're mechanics as opposed to electronics, so they can fix things if they break down mechanically, but not electronically. We didn't have a computer that we could just plug in and change whatever settings and things. So my biggest fear was more electronics than mechanical. But we took it. We saw loads of minus 39 up in the Arctic, and every time the car switched on and it worked and it charged and it drove and it performed, and I can't speak highly enough of just how well built that Nissan Aria is. And obviously it covered the North, Central and South America, and then it covered God knows how many miles in Antarctica as well, and it's ready to go on the road now. So, and it's still drivable, it's still working. So credit to Nissan and the build quality of the cars.
That's brilliant. I mean, I suppose you've got to have that that level of confidence, and I like the fact that Chris, you sound like an eternal optimist. You're a bit like me. I would say me and my husband, I'm always glass half full. He's the other way. but that's kind of your yin and yang, isn't it? To me, the way that you two work together as a couple. Do you know what? Let's just talk about that, because, and I said this to you, Julie, when I met you at Carfest last week. If that had been me and my husband, and I love him to bits, but we'd have probably just fallen out straight away on a trip that's like that, because to me, being together all of that time, how did you manage that? With obviously you've been together a long time anyway. Your fingers in your ears.
Oh, we had our moments, didn't we?
Yeah,
We had our fair
yeah.
share of moments. You know, as sweet as we look, you know, when you're hungry, when you're hot, when you're cold, when you're sleep deprived, when, you know, all those things, you know, we've had our moments in the car, and I've locked you out and drove off once.
I love
In an
it.
area
I
where we
was
were
like, I'm
talking
going to
about,
drive. And then I thought, oh, I can't really leave him here, can I? So I reversed back and picked him up. But
And so where was that? Where was that? You were saying, Chris, sorry.
that was in Colombia or Ecuador,
oh,
in the cartel area where we were
the
told
cartel area.
we switched drivers, and we were having one of those married conversations, as we call them. So we switched drivers. I got out. Julie slipped across the seat and then just locked the car door. And I was like, "That wasn't a good move, Chris." And she just looked at me, and I won't say what else. And then was going about to drive off, and then she obviously, she saw sense. But that's the thing. Is I think for us is it's these adventures is what's brought us stronger together as a couple. It's made us stronger, and being together for so long as well, and traveling together, backpacking together. It's the adventure aspect and the travel aspect that keeps us the couple that we are, and the strong united couple that we are. So as much as we go through a lot of pain, we always realize and think and bring it back to a point. Hey, look, yes, this is tough. Yes, we're falling out, but this isn't about us. We've got a mission to do, and we then quickly get back to a podcast or a bit of music or a conversation about what social media post needs to be done, and all that kind of stuff, and laughing and joking, and we're on our way again. Not often does an argument last probably more than half an hour, because conversations can last. Arguments can last for a while, but they don't really normally last for more than half an hour, I guess. But generally they're about 10-15 minutes, then we're back onto it again. And the focus is on what we've got to do.
And I was going to say,
Sometimes I think it's healthy as well. I think it's healthy to be able to express your emotions and let any tension out. Because it's such. We were stressed every day on the expedition. It wasn't. I think we were powered on adrenaline throughout the whole trip, because you had to be. Because of our regime, of our deadlines, of our schedule, of just the amount of pressure that we had on us to achieve and to reach places, to meet people, to do this. It was constant, from the minute you woke up to the minute that you went to bed. And it was just unbelievable. Sometimes I think, because we didn't actually get ill at all until we got to Chile. And I was thinking, wow, that's like, you would think at some. Well, I did get food poisoning in Colombia for a couple of weeks.
did you?
Yeah, because I ate something, didn't quite agree with my belly. But other than that, I think it was the adrenaline that powered us through. Because we were on the go every day, and tired, hungry, sleep deprived, and just on the road every day. So when you kind of reflect and think back, you think, sometimes I think, how did we do it?
And as you say, when we left Yellowknife in Canada and drove all the way down to the southern tip of Chile and Punta Arenas, we left all our support behind. If they were they were purely for the pole region, so it was just Julie and I. So, and when I say the team, I mean every single bit of social media, every single bit of media that came in, inquiries that came in, events, everything, logistics about boat changes, logistics about changes to the dates we needed to be in Punta Arenas for.
Fundraising, all the money.
And, we were still
challenges.
fundraising on the
expedition.
God. All of that was us managing that as we drove and had to move every single day to a new city, to a new town, to a new place. Every single day, there was not really a time, apart from, well, there's not really a time that we got to stop and go, let's relax and take a few days out. Because when we did stop for a few days, it's because we had an event to attend. So we were constantly speaking to people. So I do say that when people do events or they do event stands, you get tired from being there all day talking to people. So if you imagine that for 10 months solid.
Oh my God, yeah.
Pretty much what we did. So, yeah.
Oh my God. And when you slept, a lot of the time you were on the top of the vehicle as well, weren't you? There wasn't like a special tent that
Yeah, so
kind of
we
came
had a
out with a
truly rooftop
platform.
tent with us, and whenever we got the opportunity to get that out, we would. Probably would prefer to have got it out more often, but
Yeah.
sometimes, like for example, if we're plugged into a hotel overnight, we obviously couldn't use it, or for we can only really use it in more remote areas, wasn't it? That we got it out. But other than that, we slept in the car many nights, and then also hotels sometimes, and obviously tenting in the Arctic. So it was all mix of sleeping arrangements. But yeah, the Aria seats are actually quite comfy.
It's probably a good job, really, isn't it? You know, because if they weren't, then that'd be a bit of a bugger, wouldn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So if we look at, so there's so many things I could talk to you about, and I know we haven't got loads and loads of time, but if you could identify what was the most difficult thing you had to manage, and what was the best thing that happened. If I start with you, Julie, what do you reckon?
The best thing is the connection with people, 100%, and the way that our Aria, aka Sonrisa, connected with the people. We named her Sonrisa because Sonrisa is smile in Spanish, and we named her quite late on the expedition because we wanted to give her a fitting name. And I was just saying, one of the constants on the expedition is that we everywhere we went, or we took Sonrisa, people's reactions, it would just be like their eyes would be huge, big smile. It was not a wow, it's like just like a really nice expression, not like a grumpy one. It was just always welcoming, and they were like, what is this car, what is this, and just this intrigue. And then so we get all walks of life, from young children to older people, different backgrounds, different races, coming up to us and just asking us about what the car is and what we're up to and what we're doing. So that's definitely the highlight, and we've met so many nice people along the way, and the kindness of strangers along the way. People have just went above and beyond to offer us dinner, offer us a hotel for the night, offer us their bedroom for the night, offer us their Airbnb. It was constant throughout the whole trip, and forever grateful for those. So definitely the people. And Chris, for the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is there's so many. I mean, there's so many things that happened, that outside forces that could have derailed the whole expedition. But I mean, probably one of the biggest challenges was right at the very start, was the Arctic, because we were getting to understand the car, getting to understand what we could do to help improve our range distances within the Arctic, and learning to drive in those conditions. Again, you have to relearn how to drive. So that was a huge challenge, and then to be faced with basically the melt of the Arctic heat. It was basically the ice road was melting.
Yeah.
Well, that was our lifeline. We had 1,700 kilometers to drive to the ice road from the start, even probably more than that from the start point.
Yeah.
And we were told you've got to do that you've got to get there 4 days earlier, and we didn't have 4 days to make up. So we were constantly going and going and going and going, and I say that our day started on the 29th of March and ended on the 8th of April, because it was just one continuous day. We just kept moving, kept charging, kept moving, kept going.
Just to get there.
And I was broken at one point. I was absolutely shattered, absolutely exhausted, and that's where our strength and relationship come together, because we support it. We know and we recognise that in each other, and we come together. But the Arctic, yeah, it was probably one of that tough points, one of the many.
One of many.
It did. I think there was some footage of that, wasn't there, as well? And it looked brutal, what you were having to go through. It must have been very difficult to start.
We tried
there.
our best with social. We tried to keep on top, but it was so difficult
brilliant.
as well. And I was just saying, like, the social also just doesn't even scratch the surface of what happened on the expedition. We just couldn't keep up and to post everything because we didn't have the time. So. But we're documenting everything in a book, we're happy to say. So you'll get a lot more stories, a lot more detail, and a lot more just on exactly what happened on the expedition, because we just felt it warranted to be documented and shared and for people to know. So look out for that when that's we don't know when it's coming out, but we're just working on it just now. So that's really exciting for us. It's something we've never done before. It's a new part of life, I think, for us, is navigating how to
It's another
how to write a
challenge.
book.
It's another challenge, but a fun challenge to overcome. It's kind of these little challenges that you set yourself, whether they be tough challenges, mental challenges, physical challenges. I'd never thought I'd be working on a book.
Yeah.
Academic,
Likewise.
being academic is not something that's ever really come natural to me at all, and something I've always shied away from. So working on a book is really cool, and as Julie said, we can share so much more into what went on in that 6 years. What was the planning? What was the logistics? How do we make this possible? A lot of things right back from the start. So
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what's next because we need to kind of stop in a couple of minutes, don't we? But yeah, what is that kind of? Would there have been a possibility for a documentary? Because you filmed a lot of it, didn't you? Or is it kind of just? Oh, you're heading down the book route now with the potential for somebody to pick up in the future?
I'll let you
Yeah, I was
guys
just
do
going
it.
to say we'd love to do a documentary, so we're just working on that. It's not easy.
No, I can imagine.
Again, it's another area to navigate that we're not that familiar with. We have to learn. So we have got a lot of footage. And I think we've got a good story. I think everybody we see and tell us and share what we did, the first thing they say is there a documentary? Are you going to, is there something going to be out on it? And so we're working on it. Watch this space, or if anyone's listening or watching on your podcast that can help
Please.
us, reach out. But yeah, we'd love to, but it's just needs a bit of time, I think. If not now, maybe in the future, I don't know. But yeah, it's another area to navigate that's challenging.
Yeah, and I think it'd be wrong of us if we didn't say we're getting itchy feet. So doing something else would be quite cool, but again, it would take time to plan. Again, down to that element of everything's got to have a purpose. Everything's got to give back to the communities and the people that we travel through, and to the EV community as well. And hence why, from pole to pole, the legacy continued. So pole to pole, from the northern border of Peru all the way down to the southern tip of Chile, Punta Arenas, there is now an AC and DC charging network. That full
Love
stretch.
it.
And that's
Through pole to
thanks to
pole.
NLX Way, our charging partner in South America, who's Chris worked 6 years with, to put that in place. So huge thanks to them, and we want to continue that legacy. We want to continue working with charging partners and just keep putting more infrastructure in the ground to make
Absolutely.
EV driving accessible for all.
Yeah, across the world, making sure
Across the
that
world.
you can keep doing this. I've driven as far as Brittany. It's not quite the same, but
That's still an adventure. That's still cool.
exactly,
It's still
exactly.
an
Especially
adventure.
because out the maximum we get out of our Ionic is kind of 197 miles. So it's more than your Leaf, but obviously less than a lot of kind of current EVs. But
Yeah.
listen, I could talk to you both for ages, and seriously, I really, really appreciate your time today. I know you've got to dash off, so I just want to say thank you. You are doing so much for this sector. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe, and and I want to see Sonrisa on the road, because I know that you're trying to get
So do
that
we.
happening, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Another challenge to overcome. Yeah, but if I can just say thanks, Liz, for bringing us on. We absolutely love chatting with you. I love chatting with you anyway. You're an amazing individual.
We could chat for ages. We can continue, like you say.
And,
Thank
and
you.
just saying to people out there, I mean, for one thing to take away from this is just hopefully that people can, anybody in the EV industry, anybody in the renewable energy industry, anything around EVs, hopefully our story, this is our gift to you all. Take that and share that with the world. Share that and show just how capable EVs are. But also, just remember, for people that are thinking about the switch to EVs, the technology is not the issue anymore. That's not the barrier. It's our mindset.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
People don't like change.
Yeah.
That's
But the
the
thing
thing,
is,
isn't
once
it?
they do take that leap of faith and make that change, they'll feel so liberated and be like, oh, I wish I'd done this earlier, So you just have to try. Just give it a go and try. And look at us, Look at us. We're a testament to that. So But if people want to know more, we have our website, which is at www.pole2poleev.com, and our socials is just the same, at pole2poleev, for Instagram, Facebook, and all the usual. So
and I will share all of that in the show notes, and make sure
thanks for all
that
your support as well, Liz, on the expedition.
like I say,
honestly,
I can't take all the credit.
amazing.
I've got to say Michelle Liddell, who is my number
Thanks,
2,
Michelle.
is amazing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle. No,
And
we're all
Tom
amazing.
for doing the podcast production as well. So listen, just
Thank you,
you're
Tom.
just amazing, both of you, and so, like I said to you, so inspirational. I'm going to say to everybody, because obviously we're going to finish now, but I want to just say, follow these two. I don't mean across the Arctic ice or anything like that, kind of weird. But follow them, find them, and actually, do you know what? If you've enjoyed watching and listening to this, whichever platform you're listening to or watching, please share it with other people, because we do want to spread the word. So subscribe and like and share and comment and do all of that wonderful stuff. Anything like that is brilliant. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, you name it, we're on those channels. We need to get this word spread.
Amazing.
So to both of you, thank you ever so much again for your time. It's been brilliant. And to everybody else, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Electric Evolution. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay connected with us. And if you're inspired by our journey towards a sustainable future and want to support our mission on a monthly basis, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Your support really helps us to bring the latest insights and discussions in the world of clean energy, electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging and sustainability to you. If a regular subscription isn't what you're looking for, you can always consider buying us a coffee. Just head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Every cup helps us to keep the electric evolution moving forwards. And if you're curious about our work in the EV infrastructure sector at Full Circle Continuous Improvement, why not visit us at www.fullcircleci.co.uk to find out more. And if you want to send me a message, you can always email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. And finally, please don't forget to share this podcast if it sparked your interest. And let's keep spreading the word about all of these topics that we're covering. So, until next time, see you soon. Bye!